what are you sensing here from the chamber? How hopeful are you that our inclusion to the RCEP will be ratified?
Well, our industry, the electronics industry, we're really hoping that the Senate will ratify our inclusion into the RCEP. I think among the 15 or so countries, we're one of four, including India, Malaysia, I think Myanmar, and of course the Philippines, that need to ratify RCEP, which took in effect actually on January 1. This is important. I think this is important for the country because, as you know, RCEP represents about, in the global market, it represents about 50% of manufacturing sector output and 70% of the electronics output, which happens to be the biggest commodity export in the Philippines. We account for about 61% of the country's commodity exports, and last year we accounted for $45.9 billion of exports, which is 12.9% greater than 2020, and surprisingly, and thank God, it's about 6% higher than the pre-pandemic levels. And we just see the RCEP being quite helpful in the sense that, you know, with tariffs ranging from about 5 to 6%, and that will just increase our competitiveness compared to our RCEP member companies. So that will be beneficial. It will also hopefully encourage investments. I know that compared to last year, we accounted for a 48% increase in foreign direct investments. But compared to our ASEAN neighbors, to note, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, we're about 10 to 20% of the FDIs they're getting. So RCEP ratification, the involvement of the Philippines, as I've said, will improve our competitiveness and hopefully will be further attraction to foreign direct investments in the Philippines, which can be good not just for the electronics industry, but for the whole country.
Now, good thing you mentioned about those figures as to how it's going to benefit the electronics and semiconductor sector, but we're talking about a space that's pretty much well entrenched when it comes, of course, to global trade here. But you have a number of RCEP skeptics here, particularly those from the agricultural sector. They're pointing to purported gains from the RCEP being insignificant. At the same time, you have Senator Risa Ontiveros, let me just quote her here, saying, even if we don't ratify RCEP immediately, we would actually still continue to trade as we are trading today, saying that maybe RCEP will not really change anything. She also cited studies showing that the balance in trade of goods will worsen as imports will grow at a faster rate than exports. So make your reaction to those sentiments.
Well, it's true. With or without RCEP, trade will continue. The question is, at what level, right? I mean, when everybody else, the rest of ASEAN, the rest of the world are increasing their competitiveness, wouldn't we want to participate in this growing pie, if you will? I think RCEP will benefit not just the electronics industry, but who wouldn't want to have a 5 to 6% break in the tariffs? And this is both for exports and imports, right? So I really think that yes, trade will continue, but we're looking forward to further increasing not just trade, reduce the trade balances and all, but also including increasing the foreign direct investments.
All right, given that as well, you have a study here, at least from the PIDS, and we're not really open enough to actually fully realize the benefits of RCEP. At the same time, you have agricultural groups along the same lines saying that trade concessions will not be exclusive to the Philippines, giving us no guarantee really of good returns here. Are we really ready to compete with RCEP members once our membership is ratified?
Well, certainly. In terms of competitiveness, we have a long ways to go. Like I said earlier, just in terms of competing for foreign direct investments, while we saw an increase compared to last year, we're still way behind compared to what our ASEAN neighbors, let alone the big economies involved with RCEP, China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. We're not anywhere to that level. So whatever gains we have, whatever incremental advantages we have in increasing trade would be beneficial. So long term, I think it's beneficial, and certainly that's why we're encouraging the Senate to ratify RCEP participation sooner than later.